Good evening to everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful faculty development program organized by Shri Sathya College of Nursing. It's a proud privilege for me to have been invited to this wonderful event. So the next 1 hour, I've been given the responsibility of talking about how to write references very quickly and easily while preparing a research manuscript and how we can use software and online tools to make this job very easy and possible for everybody. So that's the goal given to me here. So I am Dr. Abinand, Assistant Professor of Bioinformatics, Shri Ramachandra Faculty of Engineering and Technology. This is part of Shri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research. So for the first 10 minutes, I will talk about why we are doing referencing and what are the basic rules of doing referencing, what are the different referencing styles available. All that will be covered in the first 10 minutes of my talk. And after that, I'll be giving you a hands-on experience of how to do referencing with the help of software. So this is mostly going to be an interactive session. And if you have any questions in the middle, you can kindly stop me there itself, or you can keep posting your questions on the chat box, and I can keep answering those questions as I'm giving you the demo. So I hope to keep this session as interactive as possible. Hope you find it very useful. So firstly, what is meant by referencing? So referencing basically means it's a consistent method of giving acknowledgement to somebody else's idea, quotation, theory, illustration, or diagram when you are using that in your academic manuscript or your paper. So you have to give credit to anybody whose intellectual property you are using while doing your research. You have to give appropriate credit to them. If you don't do referencing properly, what will happen? You will be involving in plagiarism. So we are living in Tamil Nadu, the famous poet Thiruvalluvar. He has also said, "என்னன்றி கொன்றார்க்கும் ஊய்வுண்டார், ஊய்வில்லை செய் நன்றி கொன்ற மகற்கு." What does that mean? Any kind of mistake can be excused, but those who are being ungrateful and not giving proper credit to those who help them cannot be excused under any circumstance. So, giving references is also part of this. We have to be giving the right credit to anybody's intellectual property. Let it be an idea, quotation, theory, a diagram, it can be anything. We have to give them the right reference. So when we are giving a reference, what all we need to include? We need to include the journal articles from where we took the ideas, the books, the websites, electronic sources, any diagrams you took from any website sources, magazines, newspapers, even YouTube video, if you have taken anything from there, even that needs to be quoted. That also should be cited in your manuscript. That is very, very essential. And when you don't have to do referencing, you don't have to do referencing when you're writing your own observation or experimental result. Whatever is a product of your own hard work, you don't have to give reference for that. Or when you're giving your own comment or conclusion or writing about your own experience, you don't have to give any kind of reference. Or if it's a common knowledge, say for example, you are saying something that's very obvious, like sunlight is the main source of vitamin D. Everybody knows this. This is a common knowledge for the last 70, 80 years. So you don't have to give reference for that. Any generally accepted fact or information, like say for example, India is a democratic country. You don't have to give reference for statements like that. But you have to give reference even when you are paraphrasing somebody else's quotation or theory. What is meant by paraphrasing? Paraphrasing means changing the sentence structure but copying and reporting somebody else's idea. So you may think that I have paraphrased, I have written it in my own words. Do I have to give references? No, you still have to give references. So today we have more than 2000 different types of citation systems or referencing styles. Both means the same. But remember that in any manuscript, in any research paper, you have to use only one standard type of referencing style throughout the manuscript. You can't keep changing introduction one style, materials and methods another style, results and discussion another style. It can't be like that. Today, whenever you are submitting any paper to a journal, all journals will have something called the style document. Style document will tell you the rules and regulation you have to follow while preparing a manuscript, which will include the referencing style that they want in their manuscript. So though I told you that there are more than 2000 different styles of referencing, all of them come under two major categories. Referencing styles come under two major categories. First one is the Harvard style, which is also called the author date style, and the other style is called as the Vancouver style, which is called the numbering style. So you might have come across both styles, but might not have known the name. Some of you might not have known the name. So Harvard style means inside the text of the paper, you will give the author name followed by the year of publication. If there is more than two authors, then you will put et al. Et al means unteam. And you will put the year of publication. And at the back side of the paper, when the full references are given, you will be quoting all the references in the alphabetic order. I'll repeat again, in Harvard style, inside the manuscript text, you will be giving the citations as author name followed by the year of publication. And at the back side, when the full references are given, all the references will be in alphabetic order of the surname. And in Vancouver style, this is called the numbering style. So inside the document, the manuscript, you will be giving the reference as numbers 1, 2, 3, like that. This number can be in square bracket, circular bracket, superscript, subscript, but it will always be numbers. And at the back side of the paper, all the full references will be in the order of occurrence of the references in the manuscript. So whichever is one in the manuscript will be given as the first reference on the back side also. Like say for example, I can show you one research paper. So this is a paper published in the Journal of Neurological Sciences. So what style is this? This is the numbering style, correct? Numbering style means Vancouver style, correct? Yes or no? Right. And this is the frontiers in neurology. So here also we are having the number style only. Again, a variant of the Vancouver style only. This is class 1 journal. Here also they are following the numbering style. But there will be some journals which will be having the author name and the year. And those journals, this is also numbering style. There the number is in the superscript. So these two are the major referencing styles. All the referencing, the Chicago style, APS style, all these styles are all derivatives of this Vancouver style or the Harvard style. Vancouver style means numbering style. Harvard style means author date style. So next is reference management system. Reference management system, which is also called as citation management system, is a software that can be used for storing, managing, and retrieving the bibliographic citations. So here also I have correctly given references. See, because without references we'll become ungrateful and that will become plagiarism. So even in a PowerPoint document also, it is essential to give the right citations. So you may ask me, why do we need a software? Why can't we do it manually itself? The answer is very, very simple. So 15 years ago, not 15, 13 years ago, when I completed my undergraduation and started my post-graduation, I was writing a research manuscript. So in that research manuscript was a review paper. It was a review paper on neural tube defects and its association with folic acid deficiency. So in this paper, it had more than 120 references. So what happened was my supervisor one day called me and told me, you have missed out one important reference and you have to include it between references 62 and 63. So basically, I had to change the entire list of references after 62 because 63 was newly introduced. So 63 became 64, 64 became 65. So like that, I had to change all the references manually, and it naturally took me more than 3-4 hours to complete. So all of us do have this problem when we may have to include a new reference or omit a particular reference while doing the referencing. So doing it manually makes it more tougher. Having a software makes the task very, very simple for us, correct? The other problem is sometimes we write a research paper targeting a particular journal, but there is no guarantee that the journal is going to accept our manuscript. So we may face rejection after a couple of months. So now you might want to submit the same research manuscript to some other journal. Possible, right? I think it might happen to all of us at some point of life. So when you are changing the referencing style from one journal format to another journal format, you have to change the referencing style completely, and that might take several hours to do manually. But if you are using the referencing software, changing from one referencing style to another referencing style takes barely 5 to 6 minutes to achieve, and it's very, very doable. It's very easy. So these are the two major reasons. First reason, you are able to change from one referencing style to another referencing style very easily. Second one is you can deal with insertion or deletion of new references or omitting a already existing reference with ease. So these are the two major reasons why we want to use a reference management software. So let's see what are all the different functions of the reference management software. One is import citation from bibliographic database and websites. We can directly get the data very, very easily from several websites directly. And second is storing and gathering the metadata. So what is metadata? Metadata means data about data. So what do you mean by metadata in the context of research manuscript? So metadata means all the details like author name, name of the journal, page number, volume number, DOI ID, all that comes under metadata. So when you're using a reference management software, getting and gathering the referencing metadata becomes very, very easy. Then we can also organize the citations. Organize means we can collect them and put them together in one folder. One folder for each project can be allocated and managed very easily. And you can annotate the citation also, that is giving labels for the citations. And you can also exchange your data with your collaborators because you can store all the references together and you can export it into .bib or .ris format and you can give it to your collaborator. I'll show you how to do that. And then you can produce the citation in different styles very easily. And these reference management software can be integrated into your word processor. Typically, MS Word you will be using, right? So it can be integrated into MS Word. And today we have word processor that can work with Google Docs also. Many people are migrating to Google Docs. So for Google Docs also, we have the referencing software today. So what you see on the screen are some of the many referencing software that are available today. So one of the best software in the world is EndNote made by Thomson Reuters, but it's a paid software. They will charge you around $100 per year. Other software like Mendeley and Zotero, these are free of cost. Anybody can use them directly. And Zotero can be used to both with Google Docs and also for um, MS Word. And SiteAvi is having a Google Chrome plugin which can be directly integrated into your Google Docs. So there are many software, but for today's practical class, I am introducing you to the software called Mendeley, which is easy and free to download, and it can be used by anybody with little training of less than 30 minutes. So I hope at the end of this talk, I help all of you here who have gathered to understand how to use Mendeley, and you must be able to do your this referencing with Mendeley software by the end of the program. So I close my PowerPoint with this. From here on, I will be giving you a live demo of writing a small paper. Small paper means maybe 3-4 paragraphs, and try to do referencing for that document. Can you do that? So can somebody tell me how many of you have used Mendeley before? I think you can raise your hand. Is it possible to do that?
They will be chatting, sir.
Okay, no problem, madam. Thank you so much, madam. So some of you might have already used Mendeley. So this whatever I'm talking now might be known to you already, but I'll try to show you some features that you might not have explored previously. All right, I'll try to make it as interactive as possible. So if you want to use Mendeley, you first have to get a login account with Mendeley and you have to register yourself. So this is the Mendeley website. Right? You can go to Google and type Mendeley and you will get Mendeley. So Mendeley is basically a reference management software that was made by two Oxford University PhD students, Peter and Victor. I think his name is Peter and Victor Henning. They were two PhD students in Oxford University, and this software was built by them during their summer vacation as a summer project. And later they sold the software to the Elsevier company for $3 million. And Mendeley is named after two major scientists, Gregor Mendel, the father of genetics, and Dmitry Mendeleev, the father of the modern periodic table. So both scientists' name has been combined together, and the software has been called Mendeley. So before you want to use Mendeley, you have to create an account. So you can click on this. I already have an account. If you don't have an account, you have to click on create a new account and you have to start filling up the details, right? So once you fill in the details, you will have a Mendeley account and you can download the Mendeley software immediately after that. Click here for downloading the software. Are you able to see it? So you can download the software once you have created a Mendeley account. It basically takes 5 to 10 minutes only to create the Mendeley account. So once you download Mendeley, it will look like this. I already have lots and lots of references over here. I've been using Mendeley, you can see here, from 2013 onwards. 2000, Yeah, 2013 is when I first started using Mendeley. So all my old papers start from 2019. So I'm going to clear my old history completely so that I can show you a empty Mendeley, how it will look like when you are downloading and using the software for the first time, right? And for doing this practical exercise, what I've done here is I've written a small one-page article on corona virus and corona epidemic of 2019. So you can see here I've written over 6 paragraphs over here. Are you able to see it? Right. So my humble request is if you are trying to use a software to do the referencing, it's always a good idea to write no more than one page at a time and have a small notebook in your hand and note down where and all references have to come with the author name. Manually, you can note down, then you can do the software entry of the references. So that's the practice I have been doing. Or if you are going to reference every one paragraph at a time, you don't even have a notebook, you don't have to have it. It's very easy to use. So once I've written this, there is an option called as install Mendeley site for MS Word. I hope you can see it. You have to click on it, and once you click on it, your Mendeley will become an integral part of your MS Word, where you can see it within the references section. You can see the references section here, right? So at the end of the references section, you can see this icon called Mendeley site, and it must work. So if it's working properly, then it means that you have integrated Mendeley into your MS Word. And one problem with Mendeley is that it will work only if your MS Word is original. That is only if you have a licensed version. If you are having a plagiarized version or a copied version of MS Word without paying money, it will not work. In that case, it's better to use Zotero. So always when you're writing a paper, what you do is you start writing on the first page. On the very next page, give a label called references. This references page must always be the last page of your manuscript. That way, all your references will keep on getting added one by one very easily. Right? So you have the software here and you want to add all the necessary references into the Mendeley software before adding the citations to the paper. So how do you add the manuscripts into the software? You first must know that. So it's very, very easy. There is an option called add new. Are you able to see it? You click on the add new option. You go to the files from computer menu given there. Click on that. And in whichever folder your paper is there, say for example, I want to add this paper on long COVID. I just double click on it and it gets added into Mendeley. See, this is the paper. It has gotten added into Mendeley. Like that, you can add the entire folder also directly. Like say for example, this entire folder has papers. I can select all the papers in this folder and click on the open menu and all the papers will be added one by one. Right? Sometimes what happens is we have the abstract of the paper which we have read from PubMed, but we don't have the entire paper. We have read the abstract of the paper, but we don't have the entire paper. In that scenario, what do you do? In that case also, you must give the reference, right? Like say, for example, I'll give you an example. Say, for example, we have a paper over here and you don't have the full paper available, right? How do you add this into your Mendeley? Very, very easy. So all papers in the PubMed will have something called the PM ID or the PubMed ID. Copy that PubMed ID. So here the PubMed ID is 377268221. Copy that, and you go to your Mendeley and add new. There is option called add entry manually. Click on that and paste the identifier and search. Add entry manually, paste the identifier and search. So now the paper is found and add entry and it's getting added. Did you see it? The other option is sometimes the paper might not be in PubMed, but you might have only the DOI ID. What do you mean by the DOI ID? Digital object identifier. So if you have the digital object identifier, you can use that also as the identifier to add the article into Mendeley. So copy the digital object identifier, just copy it. Again, same option, add entry manually, paste the DOI ID. DOI ID, you might know that it always starts with a 10. So you search for it. Again, the paper is added. So Monera Isbel is the first paper. So we have added that paper also. So now let's learn how to add these papers into the Mendeley software. How do you add it into the Mendeley software? How do you do that? So say for example, I want to add the first reference in this position. I want to add the first reference in this position. How do I do it? I open the Mendeley site option, and first always when you're opening the MS Word, you must update from the library once. That way all the recently added papers will be reflecting over here. Say for example, I can always refer to the paper in terms of the author name or the name of the paper. Say for example, I want to add this paper called Topoi. The paper I want to add is called Topoi, Topoi, Topoi. So this is the first paper, I found it. I just have to tick on it and insert citation, and it has gotten added here. Say for example, I want the next reference here. This is the paper on long COVID. So second paper is added. Like that, I want to add more papers at several other locations. I'm going to do that. So this paper I want, this paper I want. So what I can do is I can tick on whichever paper I want, and I can just save the changes and they get added. So you can either search the paper by the author name or by the keywords. So say I want these papers to be added here. I just have to put the cursor wherever I want the papers to be added and put insert citations. At one position itself, we can add more than one citation. So like this, we can keep adding the papers one by one. All right. Like I want this paper called Jiang here. The author name is Jiang. I can put the author name, tick on it, insert citation. Right, so once the citations have been added, how do you put the bibliography at the end of the paper? Very, very easy. In the citation settings, you have to find this three dots over here. Click on that, insert bibliography. You just have to click on insert bibliography. So all the 7 bibliographic items have been added, right? Very easy, right? So here the referencing style I have followed so far is the Central African Journal of Medicine. You might not want this, you might want some other style. Say for example, I want to change the entire referencing style to the Journal of Nursing Education. Just click on it, update the citation style. So now this is updated to the Journal of Nursing Education. Numbers are given as superscript 1, 2, 3 like that. So do you want me to try some other journal style? Can you suggest some journal style? Some indexed journal style. Am I audible, madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you suggest some journal style, madam? So if you want some new journal style, you just have to go to the search for citation style and you can type here. Say for example, I look for other nursing journals. I just type nursing. So you have this journal called International Journal of Nursing Sciences. I click on it, update citation style. Now my referencing style has become the International Journal of Nursing style. So now you may ask me if I don't want a particular reference, if I want to remove a particular reference, say for example, I don't want this fourth reference over here. I want to take it out. What do I do? So see, I just have to click on the 3 dots next to the box. I just have to put my cursor here and press the delete button. And now 4 has become 5 and that reference has automatically been deleted from here. Right? Or say for example, I want to introduce a new reference. Say for example, reference 2 and 3 are over here and 4 is over here. So let me introduce a new reference somewhere over here. So how do I do that? So this has become 3 and this has become 4. So the reference styles have been reordered automatically. So basically you can delete a reference wherever you want. You can insert a new reference wherever you want it to be. So that's the whole beauty of using the Mendeley software. And if you want to change from one referencing style to another referencing style, that is also done very, very easily. So what else can be done with this software very easily? So let's see some other options. So let me go to the software, that is the Mendeley software itself. So here you have an option called as new collection. So basically, I can create a folder over here. Say for example, this particular folder, I will name it as FDP program. This way, I will be able to store all the references pertaining to the FDP program alone in this folder. So let me take all the references I want. I'll tick on all the references I'm looking for. Right? and I can organize them, add that only to the FDP group. So now all my references would be added to the FDP folder without any problem. It may take a few seconds. So somebody has asked, is it possible to change bank over to Harvard style? Yes, very much, very easy to do that. Yes, we can do that. 1 second, let's do that and show. So I go to the manuscript. So I'll change the citation style to Harvard. Do we have Harvard here? No, we don't have Harvard. No problem. We can search for the Harvard style. So we can look for the LCVR Harvard style, which is the latest Harvard style with titles, update. It's done, sir. Are you able to see it now? It has now changed to the Harvard style from the Vancouver style, and it's been done very easily. Very easy, right? And if you want to read any of the manuscript here itself, you can just click on this read button and the paper itself will load on here and you can read it within the Mendeley environment itself. Mendeley generally provides you with about 10 MB of space, which you might think is not much, but reference metadata does not occupy too much space. So it's not too difficult. All right. So if you are done with a particular project, what you can do is you can click on all the papers here, whichever you want, and you can store that for your future reference. You can export it out of Mendeley and you can store it as a .bib format, just like you have a .mp3 format for your music or .mp4 format for your videos. .bib is the format for the references. So you can export it as a .bib file, as a bibtex file. So you can store it wherever you want. Let me give the name as FDP, right? So it will be stored as a FDP.bib file over here. Are you able to see it? So this file contains all the references. Even if I delete these references now, I will be able to import the already exported file wherever I stored it outside. So all the papers are back, see? And this .bib file can also be sent over an email so that your friend or collaborator living elsewhere will also be able to access these papers or access this uh, documents. The best thing about Mendeley is that it works over a cloud platform, which means that you can use Mendeley wherever you are, irrespective of which computer you're using. Just if you have an internet connection, you can access all the papers stored in your Mendeley database. So I have finished my demo of the software. If anybody wants me to repeat something or they want to explore some features, I can help them out with that. Is there any questions? I'll be very happy to answer any questions if you have.
So there's a question. Sir, can you
Yes.
give some insight on Zotero?
Yes, sure. Okay. So Zotero is also a free software. I have Zotero here. So I have downloaded Zotero also. I can show you Zotero. Zotero is actually simpler than Menly, and it can work even with a mm, copied version of MS Word. You don't even need a perfect version of MS Word for Zotero to work. So that's the good thing about Zotero. So this is Zotero. This is how it looks like, and I can use Zotero also. But one thing you must be careful is you can't use the same document. I mean, two different software in the same document. That does not work. So for the Zotero sake, what I will do is I will just take one paragraph from here and I'll try to give you a demo. Right, so Zotero is here. I've already downloaded Zotero. Just a second. All right. So if you want to add any paper into Zotero, you just have to put the DOI ID of the paper over here. Or if you have the paper, you can click on this folder option and you can add the papers directly into Zotero. Right? That's how you add the papers into Zotero. Like say for example, let me add one paper and show. So I have the DOI ID of a paper over here. I copy it. So this paper has been added here. Or if you have full papers, then very easy. You can click on the option here. One second. So how many ever papers you want, you can keep adding here. Or if you want to have a paper added, you can go here. So all the papers will be added one by one. And say for example, you want to add that paper into the manuscript. Very easy. You just have to open your Zotero. I think I have to reinstall my Zotero. It's a little old. It is saying reinstall. I'm sorry. You can take my number if anybody wants Zotero. I can help you out with Zotero once I've reinstalled it. It's corrupted, I guess. I haven't used my Zotero for a little while. I'm sorry about that. But it's pretty easy to use, far more easier than Mendeley itself. But the problem with Zotero is Mendeley has so many other options, like many reference styles are integrated into Mendeley. Zotero does not have so many reference styles. So that's one drawback of using Zotero.